17. And I always knew I was going to do well because the teachers always made me feel good. They always told me I was in the top 95% of the class. Top 95% of the class. Anyhow. So, it was, as Mike said, it was expected that I was going to take over the family farm. My father, that's what he wanted and so forth, but I just decided this isn't what I want to do. And most people, they decide, hey, I need to continue. They don't leave a community and whatever, but that wasn't me. So I sold out. I did very well in those years because I started when I could hardly walk, working on the farm and doing very well. But I sold out, and in January of this year marked my 50th anniversary of passing the state exams and becoming licensed and starting the life insurance business in Nebraska. I did very well after working on the farm. It seemed, natural. I just knew how to work and so forth. Also started doing recruiting early on. And my wife and I were talking about some of the interesting individuals that I had the opportunity to work with in recruiting. One of them was Jerry. I don't know what happened to Jerry, but Jerry, he was bound determined he was going to do very well. He read a lot of books, and I'd meet with him on a regular basis. And he'd tell me about all these sales ideas on how to sell and so forth. And he read this, and I said, "Oh, Jerry, you didn't." He said, "I did." What it was, he met with this couple and presented life insurance, and he said, "That'll be $100 a month." She said, "That's awfully high." So Jerry said, "I'm sorry, that will only be $100 a month." I said, "Jerry, what happened?" Well, he said, she looked at me and said, "You trying to be a smart ass?" And I said, "Well, what happened then?" He said, "Oh," I said, no. And I explained why I said what I said. And I said, "What happened then?" He said, "Oh, they bought." There was a banker back home. I got to know him very well. And he left the bank there and moved out west. And he came back and met with me and some others, and he knew that I'd sold out, had some money, and he brought someone else with him. And he talked to us about this, quote, investment opportunity. Now, I was a young guy, trusted, everyone explicitly. And so I got greedy, and I invested all this money that I'd worked all these years and hard to earn in this, quote, investment. It wasn't just me. I went and talked to bankers at another bank and give me some advice, and they got all excited about it too, and some of them invested. But what happened was the main guy, he used the ex-banker, and that's when I learned the term SEC. And but the guy took off and took most of my money, and the investigators tried to find him, and he was hiding in the hills and mountains of Utah, and his relatives there were keeping him under covers and whatever. So anyhow, it was quite a wake-up experience for me, and I couldn't let that. I've seen people where they'll let something like that just ruin them for the rest of their lives. But with my Christian upbringing and training, I had learned, and I came to realize there's a reason for everything. And everything will be okay. Well, I continued to work and did well in insurance. And a recruiter came to Nebraska and talked to a couple other individuals and myself. I can't remember any longer how he got a hold of my name, but he flew my wife and I, the company flew my wife and I, the beginning of 1970 to Arizona. And so they said, well, what do you think? Well, we almost didn't make it out of Omaha because of snowstorm. And then we lived in Arizona, and where did they wine and dine us at these beautiful resorts? And said, do you want to move to Arizona? Well, my wife had spent 2 years as a nurse missionary in Africa prior to us getting married. And the climate there was very similar to here. She fell in love with the climate, I fell in love with it, and we said, sure. So the company moved us, paid all of our moving expenses, and moved us to Arizona. So I started in the business here, and after a period of time, I got to thinking, this company, you know, I'm a person of integrity, and they're asking me to do things that I don't feel comfortable with. I had become involved with Toastmasters to build, you know, clientele and get to know people. And there was an individual, his name was Verl from belonged to Toastmasters with me. Any of you know him? He was a member here at West Valley. So he said, well, I work for New York Life. And so I went down, interviewed, and was hired at New York Life. The office right next to me had Jack Bobo and Ruben Rasmussen in it. So I became involved, and early on, it was just expected you're going to belong to the Association of Life Underwriters. And they had a meeting over in Scottsdale. I would have been before your time, Patty. And I went to it, and the salesman was there and spoke. His name was Ben Feldman. Any of you ever heard the name Ben Feldman? As far as I know, he is the greatest today, the greatest life insurance salesman that there has ever been. And when he died, this was in the paper, and this is what it said about him. He didn't look like a salesman. He looked more like a gnome, short and stooped, pudgy and baldy. With eyelids so droopy, he appeared half asleep. He didn't sound like a salesman. He talked softly, hesitantly, with a lisp. Sometimes he sat there, blinking, and said nothing. He didn't act like a salesman, no cigars, no backslapping. When he tried to tell the latest joke, he'd start chuckling before the punchline. He was so shy. He was so shy that he once insisted on standing behind a screen when he spoke to an audience of fellow agents. Yet when he died, Ben Feldman was beyond question the world's greatest life insurance salesman. So I went to an association meeting, heard Ben Feldman speak, listened to him, looked at him, and I thought, my God, if he can do what he's doing, I have absolutely no problem. Also, I went to here because in Nebraska already, I started listening to Zig Ziglar on the 33s and Biscuit Fleas and Pump Handles. That was his original one. And reading motivational books and so forth. And but I read in the newspaper that there was a speaker downtown, a motivational speaker. So I went down there and listened to him. His name was Charles Tremendous Jones. And Charles Tremendous Jones, remember Patty? Yeah. Because he was around for a number of years, and he'd ask people, do you like making phone calls? Well, some of them would hold up their hand, yeah, they like making phone calls. He would go and he'd grab them, slap them, slam them down in the chair, and he said, you're a liar. and the whole purpose of it was, no one likes to make phone calls. But this is what he said, and it stuck with me forever after that, and was a great influence. Successful people do the things that unsuccessful people are unwilling to do. Let me repeat that. Successful people do the things that unsuccessful people are unwilling to do. So, after having met Ben Feldman, hearing Charlie Tremendous Jones, hey, I am going to be a success. Well, early one morning, I should state in there, the manager for AL contacted me. And he said, I have an opening, and you're the guy I want to hire to fill that opening. He heard of me through someone other than another source. So then I went to work in 1971 then for AAL. But early one morning, I received a phone. There was a loud knock on the door. It wasn't even 7 in the morning. By that time, we had 2 children. We had a little son and a little daughter that we just adopted. And, but this loud knock on the door. And I went and opened the door. There were 3 sheriffs standing at the door. 3 sheriffs standing at the door. What the world? What's going on? We want the keys to your car. They beat on the door so loud, they woke the 2 kids. They're screaming and crying. They want the keys to the car. And I had no idea what was going on. The car, my house that I could have bought, was in the mountains of Utah. The only asset that I had left was a nice Buick Electra, monetarily valued asset that I had. They wanted it. And you have no idea what it feels like. I see sometimes on the news when things like this happen to people, like when the mother was taken down to Mexico and the family's going kind of crazy. I have an empathy for them, because when that car was going down the road, you have no idea what went through my mind at that time. Well, what happened, the company that moved me to Arizona, and I worked for them and did business for them, they said that I wasn't with them long enough, and they paid for the move for me to Arizona. So I owed the money back to them without sending me any legal notification or anything. They said, we got it. They did the research. In his car, we're going to get it, and you'll give us some money back. Well, I didn't, because I searched through the contract, had a lawyer look at it, and they said, you don't know anything. Well, the car went down the road. It was the only vehicle we had. So we were very involved in church. So I called the pastor and said, we got a real problem. I need your prayers. I need help. So within minutes, he called me back. He got a hold of a member that had a car that we could use for a couple of days. And then he called another member who had a next door neighbor who had an old Pontiac that I could buy for a couple $100. So I got the car, and that was an old beater. When I'd go and see people, they'd come outside. Where's your car? Oh, yeah, I wasn't quite sure where you lived. It's down the street. I wouldn't park it in front of their house because I was too embarrassed to let anyone see what I was driving. So anyway, 6 months to the day after that whole thing happened, the company finally, through an attorney, contacted me and said, we'll give you the car back as long as you sign a statement that you will not sue us. So we signed the statement, got our car back. It was a mess. The windows rolled down. It was in a lot someplace with other vehicles, loaded with dust. But got it back, cleaned it up, and advertised the old Pontiac for what I paid for it. I'll never forget the old gal, and I guess her boyfriend. She wanted the car, and I rode in the back seat while they test drove the car. And they had a heck of a time going and looking at the car. But I sold the car to them for what I paid for it. 2 days later, she called. She said, "Do you ever have any problems with the car?" I said, "Not at all, not at all." She said, "It's just falling apart. It won't drive, it's shot." So, but she could salvage it out for what she paid for it and then some. But we talked about it. Get a load of this. This old Pontiac, I drove it on business in the daytime. My wife worked, she is a midwife, she worked at the hospital delivering babies. She'd go in 11 at night, come home in the mornings, and then I would drive in the daytime, and that's how we lived. But that car, the only thing I ever did was change the oil in it, put gasoline in it. The tires, battery, nothing ever wore out in that car for the whole 6 months that I had it. How about that? Also, during that period of time, there were times it was tough. It would have been very easy to call Dad and say, "Dad, guess what?" They're like a prodigal son, right? And he would have said, "Hey, come on home. I'll send you the money. Come on home." But I was bound determined, after seeing Ben Feldman, listening to Charlie Tremendous Jones, that I was going to make it in the life insurance business. But hey, my friend Barry, but there were times when we looked, we didn't have the money to pay certain bills, and miraculously out of somewhere, the $40 or $100, $150 came through some source. And we were always able to pay and meet our bills. How about that? Well, let's move ahead and let's move ahead about 30 years. I was flying home from an MDR meeting and on the way home, I got to thinking about how fantastic the MDRT meeting was. It was just outstanding. And with y'all, with thousands of other individuals. And I thought, you know, the members there are 4 attributes of an MDRT member. So I wrote the article, and that article was published afterwards. So what I'm going to do now is to share what I have seen as the 4 attributes of an MDRT member. The first one is attitude. And I want to share an article with you. It was written. It says attitude. The longer I live, the more I realize the impact of attitude on life. Attitude to me is more important than facts. is more important than the past, than education, than money, than circumstances, than failures, than success, than what other people think or say or do. It is more important than appearance, giftedness, or skill. It will make or break a company, a church, a home. The remarkable thing is we have a choice every day regarding the attitude we will embrace for that day. We cannot change our past. We cannot change the fact that people will act in a certain way. We cannot change the inevitable. The only thing we can do is play on the one thing we have, and that is our attitude. I am convinced that life is 10% what happens to me and 90% on how I react to it. And so it is with you. Charles Swindoll. And and I've already shared about Charlie Tremendous Jones. Have you ever met an enthusiastic loser? No, because it's impossible to think positive thoughts and negative thoughts at the same time. You're either positive or you're negative, right? And if you have positive attitudes, you're going to be happier at home, you're going to be happier at work, you're just going to have a much happier life, you probably live longer and live healthier, because so much of sickness and whatever is, has to do with the negative attitude. And so it's important to live longer and have life in your years instead of just live longer. And life, what I'm convinced, like it says, is just whatever you think. And thinking of Ben Feldman, he had such an awesome attitude. And I'm thinking of a boss that said to his people, if you're not fired with enthusiasm, you will be fired with enthusiasm. Zig Ziglar, I love Zig Ziglar. I know Barry and I, and different ones of you have heard Zig speak many times. And, more and more research is showing that those who have purpose and gain direction in their lives are the ones who get ahead. It's not the big university they graduated from. It's their purpose and direction and inspiration and life that makes a difference. And the next thing is focus. So it's important to have an enthusiasm, but you got to have focus. Where are you going in life? And early in my career with AL, I started that year, and I talked to the boss, and I said, there's a club. Do I have any chance of making it? So he looked at my statistics and figured out how many appointments I had, what kind of sales I had per appointment, and he said, if you make this number of calls between now and then, you'll make the club. I made the club by about 100 sales credits that year by following his advice and doing goal setting. Also, something else that I learned a number of years ago, and Seth, you volunteered. Could you come up here, please? Seth, I appreciate you volunteering for this like you always do, all kinds of things. But I took a course in our attitude and being focused in what it does. And so hold your arm out and resist me. Don't let me push it down. Okay, good. Put it down. Now, I want you to think about this. You're going on a sales interview, and you're going to make a call. And I want you to say, I am going to make a sale. Put your hand out. Say, I'm going to make a sale.
I'm going to make a sale.
Okay, put your hand down. Now I want you to put your hand back, and this time you're going to say, I'm going to try and make a sale.
I'm going to try and make a sale.
You see him?